Situational irony, when what's meant to happen and what actually happens are at odds with each other. Example, this week I am supposed to make a video about inspiration. This week I am also feeling very uninspired. A few weeks ago, I finished the first draft of the book I was working on, and during the few weeks that I was going to take to put it aside and wait for revisions, I was like, perfect, time to move on to this next awesome idea I have. The problem with this cool concept, which is a problem that I frequently have with new book ideas, is that I don't really know what the core conflict is, and I have no idea what the plot is going to be. And I have spent the last few weeks trying to force myself to figure out that conflict and figure out that plot. I've spent time just sitting and staring at my notes until I would come up with something. And when I finally came up with this whole plot for the book after forcing myself to work on it, I looked at it and realized that it was not the book that I wanted to write, and the plot felt forced and overly complicated. Basically, instead of coming up with good ideas, forcing myself to sit and agonize over the plot of this book was just stressing me out and blocking me creatively. So I've decided to step back a little and have a bit of a plotting break. I am taking some time to find things and immerse myself in things that will inspire me for this book. So I'm making a playlist and figuring out some songs that really represent my characters and the tone that I want this book to have, because at least those are things I know, even if I don't know the plot. And I'm playing around with Pinterest and finding pictures that once again represent the tone and the characters and the world that I want to write about, so that my brain can just seep in those things and this idea can simmer. I'm also trying to read a lot while I'm on this plotting inspiration break, and I'm thinking about books I love that are similar to the book I want to write and what kinds of plots they have, what kinds of antagonistic forces and internal conflicts they have. And while I still am not sure what the core conflict of this book will be, these things are inspiring me a lot more than staring at my notes and stressing myself out was doing. I think this is a problem that I actually have a lot, thinking back on some of my earlier projects and times I got stuck in them because I hadn't thought the plot through well enough beforehand. I think because I am such a slow writer, I feel like I have to rush through the other parts of the process, specifically plotting, and I really do need to step back and take my time with that. And I think that taking my time with plotting is going to make my first draft better. The plot I had come up with that I scrapped was not a bad plot. I will probably put it aside and save it for another book, but it just wasn't the book I was wanting to write. It wasn't the book I wanted this book to be. So I think that if I had tried to just push myself through with that plot, I would have been unsatisfied. I would have gotten stuck in the drafting, or when I got to the end, I would have had to completely rewrite the book when I realized it wasn't the book I set out to write. Sometimes in the writing world, there can be such a focus on getting things done quickly, plotting and drafting and revising, getting it done as fast as you can. And sometimes that's great, but also sometimes I think it's important to step back and take your time, let ideas simmer if they need to simmer. Sometimes inspiration takes time, and that's okay, so don't be afraid to let your brain have that time to simmer and think about ideas and connect the pieces so that in the end you have a book that you really truly love, not one that you forced out of yourself. That's all I've got for today, nerds. Don't forget to join us this Sunday at 7:30 Eastern Time. We're going to be having a little bit of a party because we've reached 5,000 followers, so we will see you then.